Welcome to another edition of Coffee, Eggs and Inspiration. Ever wanted to know what it's like flying 30 hours from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere? Join me today on an epic journey from London in the UK all the way to Auckland in New Zealand. Let's go. Well, it's December 16, 2022. It's -6 degrees here in London. Still a lot of snow on the ground from a snowfall last weekend. And today we're going to take a trip with Lufthansa all the way from London to New Zealand. I'm a little bit cautious or nervous about this because there's been a lot of flight disruptions due to the weather that you see behind me. We're flying from City Airport, routing via Frankfurt, Hong Kong and then on to Auckland with some pretty tight connections. So let's see how it works out. So arriving now at City Airport to find that the immediate flight to Frankfurt that was ahead of us has been cancelled. Our one still seems to be on time, but it doesn't fill me with warm feelings and confidence. We've checked in now. That's the good news. The bad news is apparently the airline Lufthansa has oversold the flight. So only 1 out of 4 of us has confirmed seats all the way through to New Zealand. We have a connection of 70 minutes in Frankfurt to get onto the aircraft that leaves for Hong Kong, which is an overnight flight. Bad news is our outbound flight has been delayed by 65 minutes.
Concerning your connecting flights, our resources here on board are very limited to give good answers, and therefore I can only ask you for your patience. Good answers can be made only when we are finally in Frankfurt. But I'd like to assure you that there's a department doing nothing else than looking for solutions there. And as soon as we are in Frankfurt, you will be informed either via the Lufthansa app or email or whatever way there is. Just watch the monitors just in the arrival hall or just walk to the information desk. Hopefully a solution will be found that suits you, and we try to get you down towards Frankfurt as fast as we can.
Just arrived in Frankfurt as expected. We've missed our flight. Come to check out where to go next, and here we are at the service centre, which is closed. So we just had an announcement over the tannoy saying to look after ourselves, stay in a hotel, check information on the app for automated onward bookings, zero information on the app. Total chaos, no staff to deal with it, so not even any information on whether the bags are going to be here. So we're going to exit the airport. We think it seems to be a transit hotel, and I guess we'll stay there and hopefully our bags will be fine somewhere. Well, the kind Lufthansa person is looking after us well as best she can, and apparently they've just run out of hotel rooms, so they need to wait for somebody in Lufthansa centrally to buy more hotel rooms. So I guess everyone here is in the same situation. Now checking in for the night at hotel that looks a little bit dodgy, I have to say. Well, here we are in the room, and the good news is there is a privacy screen around the shower, which is actually in the middle of the room. So that's different, isn't it? Anyway, big day tomorrow, I'm sure. Hopefully we'll get our flight sorted out, and the positive is that if you're traveling from Europe to New Zealand, you can pretty much go any route. South America, North America, Asia, anywhere in between. So let's see where we get to. Day 2, looking for alternative flights. Wish us luck. So chaos here at Frankfurt Airport. We've just spoken to our 4th customer service person from Lufthansa. We started in a queue downstairs. She said, "You're in the wrong queue. You need to go upstairs, turn right." We went upstairs, turned right. We were told that was the wrong queue. You need to go downstairs. Went downstairs. Went to the business and first class service, hoping we'd get a little bit more correct information. She said, "You're in the wrong place. You need to go upstairs." So now we're going upstairs again. Right, we're now in our 5th location in Frankfurt Airport, the largest airport in Germany. Hopefully this is the one that we'll be able to book our flights, rebook our flights, I should say. So, 4 hours later with the gentleman from Lufthansa, we're booked, 3 of us, via Doha, Perth, Sydney, and then Auckland. And then my wife is travelling separately via Singapore, arriving in Auckland at a different time with all of our luggage. Well, almost 24 hours later, and a slightly different routing, not slightly, completely different routing than we first expected. A divided trip now, Meredith flying Singapore Airways in about 7 hours time from here in Frankfurt via Singapore, happily all the way to Auckland, and the boys and I are flying from Frankfurt to Doha, then Perth, then Sydney, then Auckland. But finally, wonderful to sit down and contemplate maybe a few good movies on the way. The saga continues, stay with me. Welcome to Qatar on the day of the World Cup final. We're not here for the final, we're just in transit at the moment. Feeling pretty tired, to be fair, and having a quick bite to eat, a bit of rehydration, and then we have a flight leaving here at 3:20 a.m. local time going to Perth. So that's our next route, but I'm just going to have a look at the shops for now. Pretty busy considering it's like coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning. There's people absolutely everywhere, the shops are open. This airport is so vast, it's got its own internal railway that runs the length, which is quite handy. Was 7 hours since leaving Doha. I think our flight departed at 3:20 a.m. Local time, and I managed to get some sleep. I got about just under 6 hours sleep, about 6 hours sleep. I've actually got an Aura ring, so I can tell exactly how much I slept, and I slept poorly, as you can see on the screen there. But better than no sleep, and it was lying flat. I'm on an A380, which is the very big double-decker jet, and this is the bar area just at the back of the
cabin that sort of divides the upper deck cabins. We've got 3 hours to run, I suspect, somewhere over the sea, 3 hours to run between India and Perth, and then a layover there, and then a change to the next flight, which unfortunately is an all-economy flight, so that'll be a joy after 36 hours or so of travel.
Stars up above me, stars in my eyes, fire below me, starting to rise. I'm my own captain, hanging on tight tonight. Pointless to try and turn back the time. I've never been this old in my life.
We've just arrived in Perth. We're trying to work out what time it is and what day it is. We've just figured out it's 11:40 a.m. on Sunday in the UK. It's 7:30, well 7:40 obviously at night here in Perth. So we set out at 1 p.m. on Friday. So far we've had the whole weekend travelling. So 1:30 p.m. Friday departure on the UK, and here we are not having quite completed our trip. Actually, there's quite a bit to go still at 11:40 a.m. on Sunday in the UK, and in the evening time, local time. We're about to get on a overnight flight of 4 hours from Perth to Sydney. It's such a big country and continent, in fact, you can do an overnight flight and still be in the same country. So that'll be a joy. So apparently we're leaving from Terminal 3, which is not only a different terminal from our arrival terminal in Perth, but kind of a different airport. I think it uses the same runways, but it's completely on the other side. So now we're having to take a bus from one to the other, and I'm glad we don't have anything more than hand luggage with us. That's all with Meredith, so look at the upsides, I guess. Okay, breaking news. I've just been WhatsApping with Meredith, who's boarded her flight in Singapore, and the flight attendant on that flight came up, or flight manager, and told her that all of our bags are still in Germany. Proud owner of some Jetstar boarding passes here. So a moment of reflection from Perth Domestic Airport. It's interesting how a small decision can cascade into a pretty material deviation and cost, both in time and in money. We saw that our connection was tight on the Lufthansa ticket that we booked through Frankfurt in the first place, and we did actually book it through Lufthansa. We didn't sort of stitch it together in a homemade way. So this was an official Lufthansa itinerary. We were assured 45 minutes would be fine. We were nervous about that, and we even offered to buy new tickets to get out to Frankfurt earlier. We were told if we did that, they would cancel the entire fare as a no-show, and encouraged us to take that. This was a call centre conversation a good week out from the flight. Sure enough, the delays happened, and since then we've been delayed by 24 hours. Lufthansa has had to put us up in a hotel for the night in Frankfurt. Our bags are stuck in Germany. The family got split up. Meredith, my wife, is now on a much more expensive business class route on Singapore Airlines. We were put onto a Qatar Airlines route, and although we're now in sort of downgrade territory on the final Australia to New Zealand leg, the Qatar part of it would have been a much more expensive fare as well. So probably cost Lufthansa, I would say, a good few thousand euro. It's cost us 2 days, and who knows whether we're going to get our Christmas presents in time to give them to family. These are all first world problems, and I'm very sensitive to that, but a great example in customer service where if you don't authorise the front line to make sensible decisions, really bad things can happen, and quite costly escalations can occur, and that's exactly what happened here. Had the person said, sure, go ahead and book that, and I'll just make sure that you can pick up the flight in Frankfurt to Hong Kong as planned, everything would have been fine, and actually Lufthansa would have made more money from us. Lesson learned, I hope. We're about to leave Perth on an overnight flight, 4 hours, as you can see, rather an upright experience this time. Welcome to Sydney Airport. It's Monday morning, early, about 7 o'clock, and we arrived slightly earlier than that, like 6 in the morning, at a different terminal. So we had a bus transit over to this terminal, and we're now grabbing a bit of breakfast. We had an overnight flight, not much sleep on that. I'm guessing probably an hour and a quarter, something like that. I am in pieces. I can barely string a sentence together, as you can probably tell. Anyway, Sydney Airport's a very pleasant place and is home to what, in my humble opinion, is the best airline lounge in the world. The Qantas First Class Lounge is the best airline lounge in the world. You heard it here. So having teased you with the news about this being the best lounge in the world, I thought I'd take you for a tour. So we're in the Qantas First Class Lounge, and as you see, really majestic views over the city. They've got a full service restaurant here, see behind me, as well as a bar service, table service as well, family rooms where you can sit the kids down. We've had one or two trips there, even a spa down the end, and a shower. So little private showerbirds here, shower done, time for a bit of Christmas music. We've just entered our third day of travel, and this is what you call a face for radio. Absolutely in pieces, tired, but final international leg from Sydney to Auckland. Well, 3 days of travel, and actually 3 years since we could feasibly travel to New Zealand. I haven't seen my father in 3 years, and nor my mother-in-law. My mum came out to Europe last year, so I was able to see her, and this is the first time I've seen New Zealand in all of its glory in 3 years, so a little bit emotional. Touchdown in Auckland, New Zealand. It's been exactly 60 hours since we left our home in London. Generally it doesn't take that long to reach New Zealand, but obviously, as you've been following through, a few complications on the way. That's not our final flight for today. We're now walking from the international terminal over to the domestic terminal to catch one more later on today, which is mercifully a half-hour flight. And the upside of having no luggage is that we've got no luggage. Almost 72 hours, 3 continents, 7 flights later, we're here in New Zealand. As you can see, the wait was worth it. Generally it doesn't take that long, to be fair. Generally it's about 30 hours door to door, but the night in Frankfurt added at least 24 hours onto that, and boy did the adventure take off after that. Hopefully a few learnings there from a customer service perspective for Lufthansa. I have great affection for the airline. I have used it many times over the years, and they're generally pretty good. So I hope the content is taken in the constructive way that it is intended. And thanks so much for joining me on the adventure. If you ever have a chance to visit New Zealand, do it. Generally, it's only a day away.